What's up, homegirls? Welcome to Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. We are your hosts, Ceci
and Nisha. Benevolence is a ministry where we uplift and encourage through topics of conversation that are important in our Christian walk.
We are going to get real. We will focus on topics that we're curious about and what many are afraid to talk about.
We saved the seat just for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it.
You are listening to episode 10, Toxic Traits.
Hey, Nisha.
Hey, Seth.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you believe that we are finally in episode 10?
Episode 10. We made it through, girl.
We made it through to the last episode of season 8.
And it's been such a great season. I love this season.
It really has. It really has been a great season. We've talked about all different types of topics. We've had wonderful guest speakers join us at the table to talk about their testimonies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really been a great 10 weeks. What was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode was episode 1, Changes in Transition?
Yeah.
And I loved the episode. I think it was it 3, Spiritual Dysmorphia?
Dysmorphia. Mm-hmm. With Jay.
Those actually, there were so many more. I loved Encanto because it was with our best friend Pam.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I don't know. I can't choose. It was just such a great season that I can't choose just one. What about you?
It's hard. I feel like I truly enjoyed this season so much because I feel like we got some amazing topics and we got some great testimonies into this season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard for me to choose. But if I had to choose, I would probably choose also episode 1, Changes and Transitions, because I feel like that was when we were our most vulnerable, I would say.
Yes.
And we actually talked about your move and my transition and I think we were able to establish a lot of just things that I'm sure maybe our listeners who know us probably wondered or whatnot.
Yeah.
And they haven't reached out personally, so maybe with listening to episode 1 they were able to kind of see how we're doing now. So yeah,
and they got to know a little bit about what we've gone through or what we're going through, and it was just it was a good start to the season. I agree. Episode 1 was a great start to the season.
Yeah, it really was. And I think I love this one so much more than last season because I was able to see you in February.
Yeah.
And we were able to spend a long weekend together.
Yeah, you got to be in my hometown now, Georgia.
Yeah, we visited and it was just such an amazing experience. And I know obviously it's not the end of our visits, but I think I love this season that I've done with you more than last season, only because of that experience of being in a different place. And I feel like this new season right now, season 8, really showed how resilient and loyal and committed we are to each other, not only as co-hosts but as best friends and sisters. So,
I agree. I agree with we were very resilient. We were in constant communication, and not a lot of people can do a podcast in different places. So
exactly.
I am so happy that I got to be a part of this with you.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, girl, so much.
I love you too, so much.
But God is good, and
yes, He's faithful.
The rest of the seasons that are coming, God knows exactly what we're going to talk about, who we're going to bring,
exactly,
and we're just going to keep pushing forward.
Yes. So today's episode, I'm so excited.
So tell me, Nisha, because this came from you, girl.
So today we're going to be discussing toxic traits. For anybody that does not know what a toxic trait is, a toxic trait refers to habits, behaviors, and ongoing actions that harm others. Many toxic traits like self-centeredness can be subtle, and we want to see the best in people. Naturally, identifying toxic people in your life can be tricky.
That is true.
Now, there's a difference between a toxic trait and a personality trait. Do you want to explain what a personality trait is?
So a personality trait is basically a characteristic that influences how a person thinks, feels, and acts. So it's a part of who they are. So your personality, the way that you are, Nisha, that's what makes you who you are. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, we're friends because our personalities link well together. So, you know, you being extroverted or you being introverted, that's part of your personality. You being shy, you being outgoing, that's part of your personality. Whereas a toxic, well, pretty much a trait has to do more with a behavior. So a trait is basically a behavior. And some of our behaviors can be toxic, can be negative. So basically today we're just gonna go through some toxic traits.
And it's so funny. I'm so sorry to cut you off. But when I was looking at different types of toxic traits, I didn't realize that some of them were like what I definitely have done in the past.
Yeah, same.
If not like something that I'm going through now. So I'm excited to talk about the different types of toxic traits.
Awesome. And then at the end, we'll talk about like, what does the Bible say about toxic traits of what we should do? And I guess like it's good to kind of like talk about these traits because sometimes we do them and we don't even know that we do them. And it's good to first identify what kind of toxic traits you kind of, portray throughout your life, or maybe you've done like a behavior that you can kind of like come correct and maybe change. So we're just going to go through the list and then we're going to talk about either we've been there, we haven't, or we know someone who has.
Yeah. So the first one, first type of toxic trait is negativity. So a person with negativity may see the world as cold, cruel, and evil. They may frequently complain, ruin the fun, or dampen people's spirits with defeatist comments and actions. I definitely know people that have been negative, and I ain't gonna lie, I have been negative sometimes. Just kind of like, not like bad negative. I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know, when you're like, you see something and you're like, you kind of like, you're negative about it or something. So I can't lie. Like, I have been negative at times, but I definitely know people that are just fully negative. They're always negative about everything. What about you, Sass?
I will say, like, you definitely don't have that as a toxic trait. As like knowing you since you were 17 and now you're gonna be 32.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a.
I wouldn't say it's a toxic trait that it's like
you don't have a toxic
I'm super
trait.
positive.
Yeah,
I'm super positive.
Super positive. But yeah, of course, we've all been negative at one point in our lives, you know, and many points of our lives. But where we've like seen something as negative, portrayed something as negative. But I feel that I definitely I knew a person that was definitely negative in my life and like completely influenced me to like stop being friends with you. If you really
yes, I definitely, if she's gonna tell the truth,
yeah. So like, if you've heard previous episodes, you know of our relationship, or you know my friendship with Nisha.
Yeah.
But I will say that there were people, you know, let's call them people. There were people that definitely didn't. They just, I don't know, with Nisha, it was just different. They just didn't want.
Yeah.
Nisha wasn't their cup of tea. and they didn't want me hanging out with her. And it was like, it really...
Yeah, I guess like I'm like like Ceci said, I agree. Like, I guess when I was saying at the beginning, like I have been negative at times, like with certain situations, but I'm actually a super positive person.
Yes.
And nothing really like bothers me. Like, even if like someone like hurts my feelings, I'm very good at like just brushing it off. So I feel like some people don't like, they're not used to that. And I just become not their cup of tea. So
Oh, yeah, definitely knew somebody in the past who was always complaining about everything and ruining the fun, or definitely influencing me to like not be your friend in the past and stuff. And then like, I can also tell you about somebody negative that I used to work with. It was like that person was just toxic. That person was just, oh my goodness. And even recently, it was just toxic. A person would just bring us down.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, like, what types of like negative things did that person do? So that way the people that are surrounding themselves with the type of people, they don't know that they're like surrounded with that
say the
like, type of person. Like, okay.
Like complaining about the little things, complaining about things that didn't matter and making it like be like a big deal. Like that was a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like definitely someone who ruins the fun, someone who we're trying to establish like, a good team, a good working team together, and then
positive environment,
and then just somebody comes and just kind of like just ruins the whole vibe and with their complaining. And that's definitely a toxic trait you don't want to have. And obviously, if you have it, you need to you need to come correct. And if you're around it, you need to run.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that. Like, be careful being around people like that, because you'll start to like become them. I noticed like when I'm around somebody like for a long time, and you don't even notice that they're really affecting who you are because you're constantly like around them, you start to become them. I don't know if you've like experienced that.
Absolutely.
So run. Like Ceci said, run from people like that. I mean, yeah, there's really nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
If they're constantly being negative, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You love them, obviously. God says to love everyone, but sometimes you just gotta love them from afar.
Yeah, that's the only way. All right, moving on to our next toxic trait. And this one is pretty interesting because I can be very, very. Okay, so basically we're going to talk about judgmentalness. And basically a person who is judgmental may judge situations, people, or events without experience. So, for example, a friend may tell you that a concert will be boring and lame before you even arrive. So that's a good example. But why are you coughing? What are you trying to say?
Because you judged me. You judged me. Remember, like when you first like seen me and met me, you thought I was stuck up. You thought you didn't even want to be my friend at first. You remember that? You judged me before even speaking to me.
I do.
So yes, she dealt with that in the past.
Yeah, this was okay.
You've gotten so much better. You've gotten so much better. I don't feel like you're like judge people like
no. I don't do that anymore.
That's not a toxic trait that you have now.
No, it's definitely not a toxic trait, but I did go through that like through my early young adult years, Like,
yes.
Yeah, I was very judgmental. And I was very judgmental with you because of the way like you carried yourself was very like, believe it or not.
Yeah,
like,
but you just looked at me from the outside.
I know, but the way you
I was tall, I had long hair. You just assumed that I was stuck up.
I just assumed, but I will be honest, some people think you're stuck up too. And then they get to know you and they're like, oh, Nisha's so nice.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like,
they're just scared to talk to you because you're just shy.
They're intimidated for no reason.
Yeah, you have this thing that gives off intimidation. So it's not that like I was being judgmental. I was like being intimidated by you. So I was like, oh, this girl.
No, you were being judged. You judged me. You even said those exact words.
Okay, fine. So yes, there have been times where I have been judgmental to Nisha, of course, in the beginning, or I apologize for that. But yeah, I've been judgmental. I've been, so some situations that arise can cause me to just judge the person, and some situations that have occurred obviously will make me put a label on them,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, those are just some things you got to be careful. We all have like a little bit of negativity and judgmentalness inside of us, because obviously we're filled with sin and we're not perfect. But
Yeah.
I feel like when you are around people that are always complaining, or people that are always judging other people without knowing them, like those are people you do not want to be around. So
Yeah.
also run. What do you
Yes.
think, Nish?
Yes, I agree. With everything that you've said. I think knowing that we serve a God that doesn't judge us and loves us just as we are
Mhm.
makes life so much better,
Yes.
because when you're constantly around like this world that is constantly judging you, judging your appearance, judging the way you talk, it becomes like I don't know, like it brings you down so bad. So I would say run like Ceci said, and just surround yourself with people that love you for who you are. And yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
that's a good one.
Okay, so the third toxic trait is dishonesty. Dishonesty is a person who displays dishonesty, may lie or mislead others. The act of lying is a choice, but dishonestly is the tendency to lie. Many people use dishonesty as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Wow. I definitely agree with this. I've met people that have been dishonest with me in the past. I'm not that type of person. This is definitely not a trait that I have. I'm super honest about everything. I'm very open, especially with my family. I think it's important to be open with your family, because I don't know, family really accepts you for who you are, and you can tell them anything. At least for mine, not everybody has that experience. But I definitely know people that have lied in the past about me. And I definitely had to like let go of those people, because you definitely don't want to be around people like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you, Sess?
Yeah, same. That's definitely not my jam. I feel like the friends that I have around me right now, or that have known me for a very long time and still keep contact, they know that Cecily's very honest. And I've always been kind of honest and straightforward with my feelings and how, like I'm always kind of like that person that you can come to me and I'll be honest with you. Like
Exactly.
looking for advice. And I think that's one of actually my positive traits, that I'm honest.
Exactly.
And I don't hold anything back. So that's definitely not something that I am. But yeah, definitely have been around people who are constantly habitually being dishonest and lying. And you could tell who's lying.
Yeah.
And like I said, those are definitely people you don't want to be around. And I feel like the more, I think we mentioned this, or you mentioned this earlier, like the more that you're around those people, the more you kind of become those people. And like, it's just better to just stay away from anyone that's just honest. If they're dishonest, that's actually like a really big issue for me. Like I can't be friends with
in
you.
relationships. In
relationships, if you're dishonest. So
I agree.
Alrighty, next one. Let's go to rudeness.
Yes.
Rudeness is a person who displays rude behavior, makes, speak, or act without manners that most people would define as culturally inappropriate or culturally appropriate. For example, someone may talk to a server without saying please or thank you. So, I mean, this is kind of like a general, rude, being rude. That's kind of like a toxic trait. I've seen rudeness, especially as a teacher. I see it all the time in the classroom. I know people that are rude. I have been rude many times. But it's not like who I am. I try not to be rude. I'd rather just if I'm gonna be triggered or be put in a situation where I'm rude. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've been rude before. I'm trying to think. When have I
Yeah.
been rude? Definitely, if you see me in the car and you cut me off, I'm always rude. I have like
Yeah.
bad road rage. Like, and I could be kind of
Yeah.
rude
I've
off.
experienced it in the car with you.
I know. And I could be kind of rude sometimes when, like, let's say, like, if in the grocery store, like somebody's like cutting me off, or somebody's like um going too slow, taking the grocery out of the cart. Like, I can, but that's because I lose my patience sometimes. So I can be
Yeah.
rude, you know,
Impatient.
yeah, impatient here and there, but it's definitely not who I am. So, what do you
Yeah,
think?
no, not at all. Um, I'm actually I don't think there's a toxic trait that I have either. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm sure I have been rude once in my life, but I'm like super nice, especially like in restaurants because I worked with one. You know how like
Yeah.
people are like rude to the servers.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think I'm a nice person, but I can't say I've never been rude in my life. And I definitely have experienced people being rude around me,
Yeah.
but I it's a toxic trait that's not really something I've dealt with like too
Hmm.
much. All right. So the sixth toxic trait is a lack of empathy. A person who lacks empathy for others may struggle to understand other people's feelings and thoughts. For example, a leader that lacks empathy may not notice that one of their employees is struggling to complete work because they are tired. So, wow, this is a toxic trait for sure. I think in life you need to have empathy for others. So anybody that can't like lacks that, I don't know. Like I feel like some people go through so many things in life that they don't realize what's happening in front of them. So I don't think people purposely lack empathy. I think people just are only focused on themselves because life is so hard that
Hmm.
they kind of forget about people around them. So this is I didn't even know this was a toxic trait. Like I think it's important to be empathetic and show empathy towards a lot of people, but I feel like a lot of people lack it because they're really like just really focused on their family and themselves that they don't realize that someone like this said like they're tired or they're struggling or whatever. I think as a leader in general, as a leader in the church, or as a just a being a minister and being a part of ministry, you really need to have empathy and be like see like people in a different way. Like you have to pay attention to things. So, and you as a teacher, I'm sure you have to have empathy. So yeah.
Yeah. To back off, piggyback what you were saying, like, as a teacher, yes, we have to be empathetic. Like, I have to always constantly remind myself I'm not the only class that they have because I teach high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have 6 other classes that they take. They are some of these kids work after school. Some of these kids they take care of their siblings after school. You know, their parents work late. So I have to be very empathetic about that. I feel like as Christians, also, we really need to be empathetic. You know, being a Christian, yes, you have a relationship with
Yeah.
God, but like people in the church as well. Like,
Yeah.
the church is a hospital, you know, the church is a hospital,
Yeah.
you know, and we have to know that people that are coming to church, they're imperfect people who are just seeking, you know, Jesus. They're seeking something to fill that void. And they just have to feel like, as leaders and as Christians, we just need to be empathetic. We need to be aware
Yeah.
of the things that are happening in our culture, things that are happening in our society. And yeah, obviously we stick to our morals and values, but we do have to have empathy, period.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Period.
So yeah, going back on the last one, which is lack of empathy, I just feel like, once again, as Christians, we need to be empathetic. We need to just realize that the church is a hospital, that, you know, God says come as you are, you know, and we need to be ready to be empathetic to every type of situation, you know,
Yeah. I
every
agree.
type. So like we're in a time of like
you know, the government, you know, our country recently overturned the abortion laws, and like we need to be, as a church, we need to be empathetic for that. We need to be.
Especially with everything that's going on, like this
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. And
we
like,
need to be empathetic,
yes,
understanding.
we need to be understanding. These are things that we need to speak about. We need to talk about in the church. We can't be, you know, covering things up and like being ignorant to what's happening around us, you know, and keeping ourselves in a bubble and a closed four walls, you know, in the church. Like we need to be empathetic. And I feel like obviously there's a whole nother topic we could get into, but that's definitely a toxic trait, not having empathy for others. And I think it's just so important. So, like if God gave us that grace, we have to have that grace for others as well. I
totally agree.
All right, Nish, next one.
Next one is argumentativeness. How you say it? Argumentativeness. A person who is argumentative may get joy or pleasure from starting arguments. For example, a person may look for flaws in a family member's idea and attempts to rifle them into a fight. Not all conflict is bad, but being argumentative for the sake of arguing can be detrimental. I agree. And I feel like you should talk about this more because you're married. And I feel like, you know, sometimes in a marriage, you can disagree on certain things. And like this said, not all conflict is bad, but I guess it's how you approach a situation. So if you want to share like that in a sense, I feel like you would be better at explaining this.
Yeah, like I mean, my husband's
and I feel like you guys don't argue. Like
we like honestly, me and Anthony, we don't really argue. We don't argue at all.
But you've disagreed in certain things.
We've disagreed all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we bicker all the time, but we've never really argued.
It's not a toxic trait, obviously.
It's definitely not a toxic trait that him and I share. But I can see where being argumentative can definitely be a toxic trait. Like, I don't know, I think about like some of my students in class, everything that I say gets questioned. Everything that I say or have them do, they have to say something. They have to argue about it. And so then I'm just like, bro, just do it. Like, you know, those are toxic traits that someone may have. They just find joy and pleasure from just starting an argument.
Yeah, and arguments can be detrimental in a marriage or in a friendship or in anything, in a job, you know.
Even in a family.
Basically, I feel like arguments start with disagreements, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like if you're gonna keep going, like something's wrong.
Yeah.
You're constantly starting a fight, or you're constantly looking for something to argue about. Like that's definitely a toxic trait that you need to come correct.
Work on. Yeah. You have to be willing to work on that too.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you don't even know that you are argumentative, or you haven't identified that that's a problem that you have, then you need to seek a therapist or something. You know, analyze your life and wonder why you don't have people around you who are sticking by you. You know what I mean?
I see.
So anyways, the next one is quick to anger. And basically it's a toxic trait that a person who's quick to anger may become upset due to a trigger that would offend most people. For example, a colleague may get angry quickly and struggle to calm themselves down. So basically, this is pretty self-explanatory. A toxic trait can definitely be something like, you know, any of the smallest thing and you're already mad. And like, I know I struggled with that a lot.
Yeah.
I struggled with that a lot for a while. I don't have a bad temper. It's very easy, like not right now, but well, let me take that back. Like, it's just very easy to get me annoyed. And then that's where my anger just kind of like comes out. You know what I mean? And like the Bible says it, like love is patient, love is kind, you know, we can't be quick to anger and stuff like that. And we just need to learn how to like really rely on God with this particular trait. And I look back because I can be, there have been moments in my life where I have been quick to anger, and like, I just waste a lot of energy being mad for no reason.
Exactly.
Things that just aren't a big deal. And that's definitely something that I'm probably still trying to work with, the quick to anger part. And I think it has to do because I'm a parent.
Yeah.
So, you know, Victoria is 7 years old and she's starting growing a lot, and like she's starting to do things that kind of like trigger me. And yeah, being quick to anger as a parent is one of those traits that you have to work on. And you have to have patience with your child because they're kids. They don't know. Teaching them life skills.
And I think the difference between someone that has that toxic trait is that you are constantly wanting to do better. And even though you might get angry in a moment, you understand that, like, no, like, I need to work on this. And not a lot of people want to work on, you know, something that a toxic trait they may have. So, you know, whoever you are, if you have like one of these toxic traits, although we're talking about them and if we've experienced them or if we identify with them, just know as long as you're willing to change, like, everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? You can grow from it, and you can grow from that toxic trait and become a better person.
All right. So the next toxic trait, I'm actually going to put two of them together because they kind of the same thing, sort of, in a way. So I have self-centeredness and arrogance. So those are two toxic traits that honestly I cannot have in my life. Like, if you're being self-centered, which is a person who displays and who basically focuses on their wants over a person's needs, and then arrogance, a person who displays arrogance, believes that they're more intelligent or more important than others. Like, honestly, those are two that I have been around. I would say my whole childhood, like my teenage life, growing up in Miami, I've been around some very self-centered, arrogant girls. Not my childhood best friends, because obviously they weren't like that, and I wouldn't be best friends with them if they had that trait. But we knew people, and we even knew leaders that were like that, like ministry leaders who were self-centered and arrogant. And even going into my move here to Orlando in 2005, definitely even more recently been around some people in my job who are self-centered and arrogant. And those are toxic traits that I feel like I don't even think these people know that they're like this. Like, I feel like they went through some sort of trauma in their life or something that they feel the need to be that way. I've had coworkers at my job, unfortunately, that they walk around like they own the school, and like you'll walk right by them and you'll make eye contact with them, and they will not say hi. They have this arrogance about them, and they have this self-centeredness that they're just, you know, they're just more important or more intelligent than others. And that I will not stand for. That is not my cup of tea. And if you show any little bit of self-centeredness or arrogance, like, you are not part of my life. Like, bye, you know?
No, I agree. Being around people like that, I don't know. It's just not healthy. So I definitely think you should, if they're not constantly wanting to grow and change and they're constantly acting arrogant, it's okay to, like, you know, move on from that situation and be around people that are empowering you and making you a better person. I think in general, you need to be around people that are empowering you and making you a better person. So I agree with you, Seth. All right. So the next toxic trait is impulsiveness. A person who is impulsive may make rash decisions based on emotion. For example, an impulsive friend may spend too much money because they lack emotional regulation skills. So a person who is impulsive may make rash decisions based on emotions.
I do that all the time. I ain't gonna.
Wow.
Like, I'll spend money impulsively.
Why do you say that?
Because I spend money impulsively. Like, I'm very like, I love to spend money. I love to get my coffee. I love to get my Starbucks. I love to go to Target. And I find any excuse to just, if I'm feeling sad.
I would say coffee. I would say I agree with you with coffee. Like I go,
Like if I'm feeling some type of way, let me just go get a Starbucks. Or if I'm like, I don't know, I'm very like that, but in a positive way. I don't like, you know.
How does it become toxic though? Like when like you like have no money like at all.
When you are
and you
not,
can't pay
like,
your bills,
I feel like
and you can't pay your bills.
Exactly. I think that's when it becomes a toxic trait. When you can't even like when you can't even see that you're running low on funds, or you're not, like you said, paying bills and stuff like.
And credit cards, getting credit cards, and all that stuff. So yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's definitely a toxic trait. And the final toxic trait is a lack of self-awareness. So basically, it's a person who lacks self-awareness. A person who lacks self-awareness may struggle to reflect on their thoughts, actions, or words. So for example, a toxic friend who isn't self-aware may not understand why they haven't reached a goal despite sabotaging their own efforts. So like, when I think of this, I think of like people who want to do better in life, but aren't making the necessary like steps to move forward in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they desire certain goals and certain dreams and stuff like that, but they're not doing anything, to reach those dreams.
Yeah.
They're having a lack of self-awareness. And I'm telling you, it's considered a toxic trait to be that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's always important to like, if you want to get anywhere in life, you have to move forward and you have to take risk, and you have to reflect on the things that you struggle with and fix them and come correct. You know what I mean? I've been saying that, come correct, but it's true. Like,
it's like your word in this episode.
I know. You have to like stop self-sabotaging yourself, your mind, and stop. You have to move forward. You have to push yourself, push your mind, push your body, push everything to make the necessary steps to get the dream or the goal, reach the goal that you want to get, or I don't know if I'm making any sense.
I agree. Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. But we definitely want to share with you some verses in the Bible. I'm not sure if you have dealt with any of these toxic traits, or right now you just realize that you have like a toxic trait that you're dealing with, that you're, that you're going through. But I want to let you know that if you're willing to grow and if you're willing to do better and become a better person, in the Word of God, it says in Psalms 51:10, whenever you encounter yourself, starting to do this toxic trait, ask God, like it says in Psalms 51:10, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. I'm going to repeat it one more time. In Psalms 51:10, it says, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. No matter what you're going through, no matter what trait you just found out that you're like, that's your toxic trait, just ask God to create in you a clean heart and to renew your spirit, and He will. What's another verse?
I have to say something. I have to say something. That was definitely like, definitely God is speaking to me right now, because that's the verse that I pray all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were going to read it. I didn't even know it was there. And I will be honest, like I suffer a lot with self-sabotaging and not feeling good enough and comparing myself. Even as a 34-year-old working mother, wife, teacher, with all these things that probably other people wish or want and desire, and I'm here suffering. I suffer with a lot of self-sabotaging, and I always want to be better, always want to do better, always looking to the left and right, not like sticking to my own lane. Like that's definitely a big struggle that I have. And I always pray that in my prayer. Whenever I pray to God, I said, God, forgive me, I always ask forgiveness, because I always say, God, like if I've had any of these toxic traits, if I've if I've been, I don't know, if I've lacked self-awareness, or if I've had arrogance or judgmentalness, or if I've been quick to anger, or if I've been dishonest with someone or with myself, or I've just been negative, I'm like, God, forgive me. And I always say this verse, I'm like, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. I say that all the time. Like I haven't.
So good. I love that verse.
Because it's true. Like this was a time where David, I'm not quite sure, because I was reading David earlier this year.
Yeah.
David, and he was a hot mess. David from the Bible was a hot mess.
Yeah.
And he killed people. He, had an affair with a married woman, sent the married man to the front to get killed. He did a lot of craziness.
Yeah.
And in his Psalms, he always like started out pleading with God, and then he would delight in God. Like he was just a roller coaster of emotions. And you could see definitely in Psalms 51:10 that he was like in desperation. He needed forgiveness. He needed to be cleaned. You know what I mean? He was either not right with God, or he was being in the wrong crowd of people. He was being surrounded by toxic people. And he reached out to God and said, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. So
that's so good.
That verse is so good. And like, I wanted to also read another verse that's here. It's like, sometimes we can have these toxic traits and so ask God for forgiveness, ask for direction. Say that verse, Psalms 51:10, but then sometimes we're around bad company. Sometimes we're around bad groups. Sometimes we want to fit in, even as adults, we want to fit in, or even if you're a teenager or you're a young adult and you want to fit in with this group, and, and you don't know the harm, or you don't know their vibes. You don't know if, they're good people to have around. But sometimes we get involved in these groups, which I have in the past. I got involved in small friendship groups that initially ruined my relationship and my friendship with Nisha. So like, you have to come to your understanding. You need to see yourself and you need to analyze your life. Who are the people that are around me? And if I'm becoming like them, those are definitely people you don't want to be around. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, do not be deceived, because bad company ruins good morals. And it's so true. The more negative, if you hang around with negative people, you're going to start being negative. If you hang out with self-centeredness, arrogant people, if you hang out with rude people, if you hang out with judgmental people, you're going to start seeing that, you become that person, And it's just so important to analyze your life. If you're stuck in a situation where, you want to get out of the friendship, like, I don't know, just pray for God to take them away. Sometimes you just have to pray for God to like remove the people out of your life, and God will do it. God will do it in a heartbeat. He's waiting for you to, ask for it. And
that's so good, sis.
And then like there's another one here. I'm sorry, because it says Proverbs 13:20. It says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise.
Ooh, that's good.
But the companion of fools will suffer harm. So we never want to be in the companion of fools. We want to walk with wise. We want to walk with people who are going to lift us up. We want to be in good company of people who are going to give us life and not bring us down, and not give us negativity, and not, hinder our life and our relationship with God, especially.
Yeah, that's so good. Now the next verse is super hard. Sometimes it's hard to do. I don't know if some of you guys have been around toxic people that hurt you, that have damaged you, and that pretty much ruins your life. Who knows, with their toxic traits. But in Luke 6:28, it says, bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. And I know that's super hard to do, especially with people that have hurt you and brought you down. But I promise you that when you forgive and bless those people anyway, even though they have hurt you, and I know it's hard to do, ask God to help you in that area. But when you pray for them anyways, God's going to bless you. God's going to help you, and you're going to grow from that. You're going to heal from that. It's important to forgive and to pray for them anyways. That way you can have that freedom within yourself.
That's so good. That's so good. And the last one that I think we need to kind of like remember is 1 Corinthians 13, where I think if I'm not mistaken, is verse 13 or verse 12. It says, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy or does not boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It is not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. So it's just a little bit of it, but just always remember that you want to be around people who are patient, who are kind, who do not envy, do not boast, who aren't arrogant, who aren't rude. If it's in the Bible and like the Bible is stating those traits, is because they're bad. Those are toxic traits. So even the Bible is recognizing all of those toxic traits that we've mentioned before. And, because the Bible is pretty much just instructions and promises on how to live life, especially in this world that we live in now. And I feel like God, inspired the author of 1 Corinthians to write that. Love is patient, love is kind. And it applies to our life. It applies to our relationships. It applies to our relationships with our spouses and our boyfriends, our girlfriends. Those are the traits that we need to have. And those are the traits that we need to run from in order to be better people and better Christians. So, yeah.
Amen. So good. Wow. Love this episode.
So good. And I'm just happy that we're ending the season off with some Bible verses.
Yes.
Because it's been a while since we've said some Bible verses from last season, but I just want to thank our listeners for making it to season 8, episode 10. Yes. Nisha and I, our heart is we just want to serve the people. We don't want to do anything more but just bring and encourage others to the feet of Jesus. And we do benevolence because it's it's our baby right now. God is working with Nisha and I individually in his own way, but I feel like benevolence is what keeps us going, what keeps us accountable. You guys keep us accountable, and every time I log into the server that tells us how many downloads we get, and when I see 100 people heard this episode, it just brings me so much joy because it's not thousands, it's not hundreds of thousands, but if at least there's 100 people who are willing to support us and who are tuning in every week or who are just slowly going through the seasons, because I know there's a lot. That's all that matters. As long as we can just plant that seed, Nisha and I can be part of your life and plant that seed so that you can be encouraged. That's all that matters.
Yes, I agree with you, Ceci. Thank you, everyone, for listening and being a part of this journey with us. We just want to be real with you guys and encourage you guys. And if you ever need someone to talk to, or you can feel free to DM us. We're here to pray for you, and we're here to empower each and every person that listens to this podcast. I do want to do something. Ceci's birthday is in 2 weeks, so I wanted to sing happy birthday because the episode is coming out soon, around the time it's her birthday.
Not only is it's not only my birthday, it's Benevolence's 4th year birthday.
Yes. So we're going to sing happy birthday to Benevolence and to Ceci. But Ceci, I just want to say thank you for everything, for being my sister and for always encouraging me and loving me and just being there for me. We are ride or dies. We were talking about the other day how I've known you since I was 17 years old, and I am 31 now. That's crazy. I've known you almost all my life. So I just want to thank you. I love you so much, and thank you for starting this whole benevolence. You started this, and you had a vision, and look at what God is doing already. So we love you, Ceci, and I'm just so happy for you, and I'm so proud of you. So I'm gonna say happy birthday to Ceci. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sassy. Happy birthday to you and Benevolence. Woo!
Yay! Woo! Thank you, Niche. Like,
so
I
everybody wish happy birthday to Sassy. Her birthday is July 16th, right?
Mm-hmm.
16th. July 16th. So wish Sassy a happy birthday. You can DM her.
Thank you. And not only is it my birthday, it's Benevolence. It's Benevolence's 4th year birthday, his 4th birthday. And I remember it was 2018 and it was on my birthday and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like release the first episode to the first season of Benevolence. And it was the start of just, I don't know. It was the start of, a season.
Start of everything. It's the start of everything. Like,
it was the start of everything.
It's amazing.
And I'm just so thankful for all the guests that have been part of Benevolence, all the listeners throughout the years. And now, even more especially you, thank you, Nisha, for joining me on Benevolence and for joining this.
It's an honor.
Project, this baby, this ministry. And it just makes so much sense now to have you with me because I did it by myself, but it was hard. It was hard. It wasn't easy. And there were just moments that honestly I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I can continue to do this on my own, And then I remember kept bugging you and asking you if you wanted to be part of it. And then finally you were like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. So I'm just super, super thankful for you and for your life and for your friendship. I was just looking over, I sent you some pictures earlier this week of my 21st birthday. And now I'm turning 35. So it's
35. She young.
Thanks. And you've just been there throughout all the seasons. And I just thank you so much. You knew me when I was single. You knew me when I met Anthony, when I got married. You were my maid of honor. And then I became a mom and you're my daughter's godmother. And it's just there's no better person that I would love, that I would have ever chosen. You're the perfect person to do this ministry with. So I'm just excited for you. I'm so excited for your life and what God is going to do in your life. And
I can't wait to come on this podcast and share my life, when I get married and when I have a child. So if God allows, hallelujah.
In the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus. So nothing. We're declaring open doors for you, Niche. It's been a season of transition for sure for you, and God is going to start directing you and your family exactly where He wants you to be, and just be ready, girl, because it ain't over.
It ain't over.
It ain't over. So this is it. This is the end of season 8. Season 9 will be coming out in the fall. And we are super, super excited for what God has in store for season 9. So be ready. And we love you guys so much. Thank you for supporting us. We love you guys.
Bye.
Stay tuned for season 9 coming in the fall.
Yay.
Bye, guys. We love you.
So as we finalize this episode of Benevolence, we just want to remind you that you will always have a seat at the table. You are loved, you are chosen, and you have a purpose.
Yes, so thank you all for tuning into Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Benevolence Podcast for more fun posts and videos.
Benevolence Podcast is available on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And stay tuned for the premiere of Season 9. You don't want to miss it. Bye!